So this is our first co-partner femme fatale YouTube video that will soon be podcast later. Um, Kiki has not been able to join us due to work, so this is her first time. From here on out, it'll be both of us, not just me talking really fast for 12 minutes, I swear. So take it away.
Well, hello. I'm Kiki. Super excited to do this. Sorry, I haven't been on the other one. So hopefully we can get you guys some more content going here. Super excited to talk about this race because, oh my, like that was incredible for a Sunday morning or afternoon, depending on where you were. But happy to be here. Happy for you guys to listen to me and Nat. Here we go.
This is just us talking about like stuff we like. So it's fun. It's not like forced or anything.
No,
But
we're just two gals having a conversation about fast cars and cool
oh yeah.
racing.
Oh yeah. Before we start talking about the Miami qualifying, I do want to bring up some stuff that I saw online. I don't know how you feel about it, but this is kind of my personal take on it. The whole Tart influencer drama that went on for the Miami Grand Prix, I can see kind of both sides. There's a lot of Formula One female like content creators who are really upset because these people are getting $1,000 or $10,000 tickets for free, and they verbalized on social media that they had no idea what this was. There was actually somebody who like didn't even show up and was pronouncing the names wrong. So I understand where the frustration's coming from, but we also have to talk about like it's a makeup company and they're trying to get their product out there. And you have to think Tarte makeup, they want the people who have the followers of makeup to be like, hey, watch this. It can stay on during the whole race. And don't get me wrong, like I love makeup. I think that some Formula One girls would have been great for it. But I think like squash the drama, get rid of it. Girls support girls. Like, come
I
on.
mean, it's just one of those things, right? Women in motorsports, we're always looked down upon. They always think we're in it for the wrong reasons. But I know you've been into Formula One since you were, in diapers, and I've been into cars. I grew up in my godfather's garage. I did engine swaps as I was a teenager. I did autocross racing,
It's hard
and
as a girl.
it really is though. And the other thing too, you know what? I do like makeup. And if I can wear my full face helmet on my motorcycle and my makeup stays on when I take it off, great. I love it. I'm here for that.
Right.
But as a makeup company, offering out, these influencers to go to these races, the best idea? Maybe not. But hey,
I think it could have been done better.
I think so too. And I understand, like, hey, let's get more into the sport. Let's make the sport more accessible. Great, fantastic. But was
But is
that
it
the wrong
really
way?
being is it really like more accessible if you're grabbing these like influencers who have like thousands and millions of followers? Your
Especially when those
Formula One
followers
races are
probably,
so expensive too. Like
yes, yes,
I, I can attest. I'm going
yeah,
to Monaco and Vegas, the two most
yeah.
expensive this year, just because why not? But I think squash it, girls support girls. Was it done wrong? I think so. But at the same time, like we shouldn't be bashing on these girls. Yeah, I was a little
No,
taken aback when somebody got offered a hot lap with a car with a driver from Alfa Romeo and she didn't show up. Like Alfa Romeo actually threw shade on Twitter about it. And I was like, that's so embarrassing, but
it's
also at the same
it's
time, like
completely
if you're not
understandable.
interested, give that opportunity to somebody who would die for that, you know?
Exactly. And that's time that he's taken to do that. And he was honestly probably excited to do it as well, because who doesn't want to show off what they do? Who doesn't want to have somebody
Right,
that appreciates it in the car with you when you're doing your hot lap? Because, if you're in that seat, like you're going crazy, you're so excited, the energy's good. Like,
right.
why wouldn't you want to share that feeling? But, you
Yeah.
know, it is what it is. And
But I just
unfortunately, it
wanted,
happened.
as a girl, to squash that. I don't want our vibe to be like, oh, I can't stand that. Like, yeah, I was a little hurt, but we're also brand new to this, like
Yeah.
content creation. I've been following it forever, but the content creating the podcast were new. Like, I'm not expecting to be invited. I'd love
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
I think if I got
If they
invited,
throw
I'd
an
call
invite my
you.
way, I'm not going to say no. But
No. But Anyway, that out of the way. Miami Grand Prix this past year was a little interesting. Um, I personally think that the race is kind of a money grab
Yes. I mean,
compared to other races.
you could just tell by the fan base and the pre-show and the type of people that were
Yeah.
attending and the type of interviews that were happening. It was for the money.
Yeah, which don't get me wrong, that's fine. But again, there's better ways to go about it.
Yeah.
It's about the racing. It's not about how much money can we grab. But qualifying was heartbreaking as a Ferrari fan.
Chaotic. It was chaotic.
I was I can't even like say it. I get so sad about it. Like my Ferrari heart just broken. Charles crashed in Q3 and caused a red flag, which caused some of the other racers to not finish because they had to go back to the pit lane. Lewis Hamilton dropped out of Q2. Very strange, but I think that was probably one of his worst qualifying performances since Monza last year.
Which is
Started
insane
in
considering this track is really not that complicated compared to what they've been driving on this season. And so it's a little heartbreaking to see such
absolutely
like a I don't want to call it terrible qualifying round, but
no,
really this was not anybody's best.
no.
So and for what the track was and for what the weather was, I understand the wind was at play down there, but it's Miami, like it's to
What
be
wind?
expected.
I live in Wyoming.
Exactly. And I
I
mean,
mean,
even
I can't say that. I can't say that. They're driving really fast cars, and any kind of wind is going to affect them. I'm just like, come on, do a race in Wyoming.
do a rate waste do a wasteway, do a raceway in Omaha, Nebraska. You'll feel some wind.
Oh God, just throw them in a cornfield.
Honestly, at that point,
They'll be fine. They'll be fine. Um,
but
Max Verstappen being in P9 was super
I was
interesting.
gonna say let's talk about the P4 and the P9s because I think those were the most interesting grid spots.
Yes.
Holy crap! How Max? What happened? Number one. We'll get
Mm-hmm.
back to that later though. And P4. Okay, like I Magnussen. Let's chit chat about him for a second there because I've I don't understand how he got there in the
I
first
honestly,
place.
I was shocked, but also at the same time, I'm like, hell yeah, go you. Show them what you can do because they haven't been doing the best.
No, not at all. And for him to pull a P4 on such a ridiculous qualifying round for everybody else, like that just shook everything up. Like it shook everything
Oh,
up from the start of the race.
absolutely.
And you could feel the energy before the race started. Like nobody knew what was going to happen. I think that's what made Miami so interesting and so exciting this time because nobody knew like this was unheard of grids. Like nothing was normal. Like we had
Lewis Hamilton in P13.
exactly like starting clear back in P13. Like
Yeah.
and Charles was already flustered. Carlos, he was doing his own
We don't
thing.
need to talk about that. We don't need to talk about that. It's fine. But also
Ferrari fans will be
Pierre
so happy.
Gasly. I know. Pierre Gasly in P5. I was like, oh yeah, I love Pierre. He is such a good driver and he's been kind of middle of the road the past like this since the start of the season. He's been middle of the road like P9, P10, 11, 8, that kind of thing. And I was like, go Pierre, show them what you can do. P5, hell yeah, let's do this.
Exactly. And
I became an Alpine fan for like a hot minute.
I know there was so much focus on Red Bull's performance and everything else going on, but like Gasly, like this was his race. Like
I know.
he showed what he can actually do as a driver, and nobody's talking about it enough. All the articles are on either Ferrari's cars or the Red Bull team, but like, come on,
I
Pierre,
think
like
it's
give him a shout
because,
out.
right. I think it's because the top three teams have been for the longest time Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes. Those have been like the top contenders. And so I think when anything goes wrong or right with those teams, it's always like, oh my God,
Yes,
whoa.
exactly.
But like, damn, Kevin Magnussen killed it. Pierre
Yes.
Gasly killed it. I was so happy for them. Even though I'm not like I support all racers, but we all know my hearts with Ferrari. Always has been, always will be. I
Which
became
if
everybody's
you need
biggest
some
fan.
assistance after this, you need to talk to somebody. I bet you there's plenty of people out there that are willing to listen, me included, because yeah, I don't know how you can deal with that much heartbreak and still sit in that chair every Sunday morning and watch those.
It's fine. I'm fine.
It's fine. Everything
How
is
many
fine.
how many times have I texted you after a race like I'm crying?
This is terrible. This is the worst day ever. My
Oh, during
boy.
the Australian Grand Prix when Charles got out on lap one, turn three, I quite literally shed tears. I was like, no, but I
It's
digress.
devastating.
I'm
It's devastating.
fine.
I think
Everything's
Ferrari
fine.
fans are a little bit masochists, you know. Mercedes are just, in it at this point because they know the consistency is the key with Mercedes, right? So like they're
Mhm.
straight chilling at the moment. Like I'm not a huge fan of Mercedes, but that's just a personal opinion. Um, Red Bull fans are just in it for the adrenaline rush at this point. But yeah,
Honestly,
Ferrari.
but like as they should be. They're killing it.
I mean, they
Fun
are Red
fact.
Bull. Like,
Fun
you know,
fact. My stepmother works for a company that is actually a very big sponsor of Mercedes.
yeah.
Like her company, I'm not going to say the company, but her company is on Lewis Hamilton and George Russell's helmets and their cars. And I'm like, come on, come on.
Yeah,
You want to finesse me some? You want to finesse me some tickets? And
where you been at? Come on.
my dad, he's a huge supporter of Mercedes, but he was the other day we were talking about it, and he was like, George Russell, super funny. Lewis Hamilton, great driver, which he is, or else
Yeah.
he would have won 7 world championships. Should have been 8. But and he was like, I think Lewis Hamilton's had his time. And I was like, that was a shot to the chest. That hurts. I may not be a Mercedes fan, but I support Lewis Hamilton all the way.
Yeah,
Like that
exactly.
hurt. You are totally glitching out.
Oh, I'm back.
Yeah,
I
did
went
you see that?
I went into a horror movie there for a second.
But
I'm here, I'm live.
anyway, let's move on to the pre-race show.
The pre-race show. I
I
I
think
think,
that was the biggest money grab style thing. I think that's what kind of set the tone a little bit. Where
and you know what? I get it. And it is Miami, right? They're trying to, every time they do a race, they like to, bring in the local culture. And what's Miami culture? It's a party scene.
that's true.
Um,
That's true.
I mean, like I have, my coaches because I do my little circus stuff on the side that were there and they're literally working for a club down there. So that's why they got to do that. But again, Miami, it's that party scene, it's that club scene. They
Right.
want to bring that vibe. They have like the real synth wave, in the background with their names, which that was super cool into that. But LL Cool J and Will I Am.
That was an interesting choice. I also saw some articles that I mean you could also tell by the actual like the drivers how they were. You could tell it was a little awkward for them.
Yeah, who
Um,
was it? Oh my gosh, one of the first five. I thought I can't remember who it was now because I was too busy waiting for your boy to come on screen.
I did
Um,
not like how they introduced him. They gave everybody like super cute, like this is George Russell, this is blah blah blah, and then they said this is Charles, or he fought for the championship last year. They all fought for the championship last year. He got second place
yeah,
in the
exactly.
entire championship. Like it's not like he was fighting the bottom of the barrel like P20 the entire season. He was second. Like I
It's not
didn't.
like
I
he
thought that
was
was kind of
not
thought that
like
was
he
kind of
was,
iffy.
a minute behind in P20, but let's not talk about that till later.
Shade, the shade.
I'm disappointed.
It's fine. It's fine.
But yeah, so the guys coming out, like it was cute. They had their like, Will.i.am was conducting his little, which I didn't realize it was him actually conducting his
Yeah,
orchestra there for a moment. So
I
that
thought
was
that was
super
cool.
cool.
That was cool.
And I love the up close shots, being like a musician myself. I love the up close shots of like the cello and everything else. Like as it was playing, I thought that was really neat. Except when they would introduce the drivers, they didn't turn the camera to the drivers and they were like running away. I noticed from LL Cool J. There's a couple of them that just straight
Yeah.
bolted, didn't even look up,
You
didn't
could
even
tell
wave.
they were uncomfortable.
They were
It
extremely uncomfortable.
it was a strange way to introduce. Again, I get the party
Yes.
stuff, but
And it wasn't pre-race jitters either, right? Because usually, they're jumping up and down, they're excited, they're doing their little shakes or their little stretches and good to go, guys.
yep.
But yeah, they were just bolting down that little alleyway.
Well,
And
even Charles, he was like, and then when LL Cool J went up to Max to ask him a question, like you could tell Max was like, yeah, yeah,
oh, Max
yeah.
was done. He was
He
done the
was,
second he walked out of there. He was already in his car. Like he was
he's
already
like,
hands
I
on the
need to go,
wheel.
I need to go.
He
Oh
he
God.
knew what he was doing. He was already, the aggression was built. He was ready to go.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I think it could have. I think Miami as a whole could have been done better, but it is what it is. We can't. I have no say. I'm not going to be like, you should change that next year. Like they're not going to listen to me.
No. Now, maybe, although I did like the little cameo by Vin Diesel as he was walking
Oh,
to
I love
put
that.
it in
I
there.
love
I
that.
thought that
The
was,
pictures of him. He looks like he's best friends with all of them. Like he jumped in the group shots and he's like, "Hey, hanging out
which,
with
I
them."
mean,
Like
it,
I love this.
if Vin Diesel wants to pretend to be my best friend, that's perfectly fine. Like, I would totally do it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Like, talk
I
about God
think
status.
we also need to talk about the starting three in our Hispanic USA race. I guess I don't know how to say that. Miami.
Latino
Hispanic
American,
dominated. Yes.
Latino
I
dominated. Yeah, 100%.
me from Florida. Very. Which hell yeah. But our top three for starting the race, we had Sergio Perez, who's from Mexico,
Yep.
and we had the battle of the Spaniards. We had Fernando Alonso and Carlos Sainz. And I was like, yes, love this. I kind of love this lineup.
It
I'm
was
not gonna
it was
lie.
it was beautiful, and they're all three great drivers, and they made
Oh,
it so
100%.
exciting to watch. Like it was incredible from the get-go.
Oh, I saw like an article where people were talking about how bad of a weekend Ferrari had, which we'll get into that later after we talk about like the highlights of the race and stuff. But it really wasn't that bad of a weekend. Both the drivers got in the points, and Carlos was pretty high up.
But
How like
Carlos, he was maintaining, and
he was
and
killing it.
he really was. And to be honest, like it really, I don't think it was a bad race at all. I don't understand why the negativity on this, because they both ended up like where they were or higher. They both got points. Like I don't. Anyways, so enough chit chat. Oh, I'm a horror movie again. Hang on. Hang on. I know how to fix this. I look like an album cover from the 90s.
A really bad album cover from the 90s.
No, I'm like Sum 41.
The people on YouTube are gonna understand this. Once we put it on like podcast form where it's just an audio file, they're gonna be really confused. We might have to explain. There's a filter
So
that keeps popping up, and Kiki is like a silhouette with this bright neon pastel yellow, and it's honestly kind of spooky.
and it's
I'm
made
not
even
gonna
better,
lie.
my longboard that or my not my longboard, my mountain board that's in the corner. So that was total 90s right there. Either horror movie or like Blink 182
A
Sum
bad
41
music
album
video
cover.
or a really bad music video.
Catch
Oh
me in
god.
92. I love it.
Oh
Anyway,
my god.
so
Way.
all right, so I think we gotta talk. We came here to talk about. We got to talk about this race. We got to talk about how it started
Yes.
off. We thought, I mean, coming out, Max was getting berated by all the interviewers asking about if this is
Oh,
going to be
yes.
between him and Fernando. And you know what? It kind of was there for a while. Like
A little
honestly,
bit. But like even Fernando, he's like, I guarantee he will be in my rear view mirrors by lap 25 because he did that a couple races ago.
Not
Lap
even
15.
15, right there. I wish I could have been in the car with one of them when that happened because
Right.
that was an incredible moment. But and and I think it's funny that Max goes into these races so aggressive, and he's known for his aggressive driving tendencies, and we saw a lot of that on
But
Sunday.
that's also, I feel like, why he's world champion the past 2 years.
Exactly. You can't race passively. Like you have to race aggressively. At least
Right.
I'm an aggressive person. I race aggressively. That would be me. But
Oh,
I
absolutely.
I
I'm
thought
too
it was
competitive to not do that. I'm like, move out of my way. Me on the
exactly.
highway.
And when you're a type A driver, like Max, like of course you're gonna do that. And I did think it was funny though in the interview at the beginning that his little mantra for them was, "Oh, I'm just gonna try and stay out of trouble." He caused the trouble. He was the trouble.
But we love it. We're here for it. Like
Exactly.
I'm here for it. I may not be a Red Bull fan, not my favorite team, but you can't hate Max because he's good. You
Exactly.
have
You
to
don't
have a legitimate reason to hate him.
exactly. You don't cook without your spices. Red Bull's the spices. Like they're not our main entree, but it would be really boring without it. So
They got Chaco. They got all the spice.
exactly.
I think one of my favorite parts of this whole race was when Fernando Alonso was on his radio and they showed it up on the TV talking about what turn is Lance in? Oh, good job. He's watching the big screen as he's driving.
Driving, right? And it's so cute though. That's such a kind of a cute moment because he's just so chill. He's up there. He's having a
His
good time. He's like, "Oh, where's Lance? Let me see how Lance is racing. Maybe I can offer some advice."
right. It's almost like he was going on like cruise control
Yeah,
and he was just like
exactly.
chilling.
He was just on a road trip. Like he
He was
wasn't doing.
hanging out.
He was
I
doing
loved it.
fine.
I think that was by far my number one favorite moment from the Miami Grand Prix because of that. Like
Yeah,
he's driving and you can tell he's like overtaking and he's doing a thing, but he's also watching the big screen
yeah.
while he's driving. Like who
Which
does that?
the whole
Like
thing
that's
about
such a
Formula One,
vibe.
right? The whole thing about Formula One is, these drivers like being able to react at high speeds. And here you are, the equivalent of texting and driving around town, except you're staring at the big screen, driving a Formula One vehicle in the
Going like
Miami.
200 something miles per hour.
Yeah, no big deal. It's fine.
It,
It's fine.
it,
I wish I had
I
that
wish I
ability,
could do that.
right?
I'm not
But
allowed to have my phone. I set like a pre-mix. Like I have so many playlists that when I drive, playlist starts, phone is in like the passenger seat
yep.
because I'd be like, oh, I don't like this song. Skip, skip. I got buttons on my steering wheel for that. And
Yeah,
he's
exactly.
just straight up like,
Yeah, I couldn't do it. I can
I
barely
can't
I
do
can
that
barely reach
20
over
miles per hour.
to the gear shift. If I miss the gear shift, it's a bad day. Like,
It's a, I
I've
think,
got no depth perception. So, oh, for the viewers out there, I'm blind in one eye, so I really don't. I have no depth
and
perception.
she's able to drive.
I know it's a miracle, and I drive really
That's
fast.
the scary part. Oh, I've been in a car with you. I've been in a Lamborghini with you. That
Uh,
was so much fun.
Lamborghini
Vegas?
in one eye. It's great.
Vegas?
Yeah,
Round two?
round two,
Or
absolutely.
to support we
Ferrari.
do
We need to get.
Ferrari.
Yeah, I think we should take a Ferrari to Vegas because I listen.
Because
I
why
don't
not?
exactly, and I don't per se have a
Money's
favorite team.
replaceable.
So money is replaceable.
Memories are not.
Exactly. And you only get to drive a Ferrari to the Vegas races once, maybe
Unless
once.
unless I become a millionaire.
That's
I'm
true.
working on it. I don't think I'll be a millionaire on my pay right now.
No, no, me neither. But the dream is there.
You're
And
closer than I am.
if the animals and the farm life would stop eating me up, but here we are.
Oh yeah, she also has a farm.
I do have a farm. I have little goaty goats.
She's
I
got
don't
not no not little goaty goats. She's got six
they're
six
little.
goats. I
Six
talk to them
goats,
sometimes.
18
That
chickens.
makes me sound
Oh, 18.
anyway. Let's talk about the
Okay.
issues with the Red Bull car. Lap 17, Sergio Perez comes on. There's issues with the front end. Later in the race, Max comes on the radio and he's saying he's having issues with the car. So even though it's like a rocket ship, I mean, a 17-second gap between first and second, that's a rocket ship. And they're the same car
Yes.
for the
Yes.
most part.
Which attests to the drivers at that point, just
Right.
saying, but
Oh, absolutely. But it just goes to show that like a lot of people are hating on Red Bull for their car. And like there's jokes about how George Russell will sneak over and like watch them work on it. There's memes about it, like him leaning up on the fence, like spying for Toto Wolff. And they're funny. And there's been inspections, I think 5 inspections just since the start of the season. And they're not doing anything legal. They just have a very fast car that holds a
it,
good pace. But it just shows that both drivers do have issues. It's not like picture perfect Red Bull all the time. So I
exactly.
want people to get that out of their head. Sad day again for Ferrari.
Very heartbreaking day for Ferrari.
Carlos got a penalty again for speeding in the pit lane. But he also was having some issues with that car also. I mean, we can talk about this a little bit about like how we saw Charles and Carlos talking after the race. But as he was pulling into the pit lane, his car locked up pretty bad. It did not
Yes.
look good.
No, I honestly I got a little nervous he's gonna come out. Just because like, that's kind of a race ender.
Usually, but it's Carlos. And
It
he
is
killed it.
Carlos.
Our
And which is
spicy
probably why
hot
he's
chili
fed.
pepper. Carlos Chili Pepper Signs. Killing it. I love that name.
But so
do you want to
yeah,
talk about our
I'll say after the pit that was a little heartbreaking though, because it pushed him back to P7 and
he fought his way back. He fought his way back.
he did. He did. It was just kind of devastating to see him because he worked so hard to get up and maintain where he was. And it was just heartbreaking. Again,
Oh,
not
absolutely.
a Ferrari fan, but.
Oh, I was heartbroken. I was so sad. You know who's probably really sad? And I hate saying it like this. Logan Sargent.
Yeah. So, yeah, let's talk about our American boy.
He deserves to have a good race. I'm not a Williams fan, but he deserves a good race. And he is just not having the season that we thought he was going to have. This is the first American driver we've had in so long. And everybody's like, yeah, an American, this and that. He
pit on
4,
yeah,
lap 1.
Say lap 1. Within the first 2 or 3 laps he pitted, and it put him back 59 seconds behind. You can't come back from that. So in a race with 57 laps to just continue, and you're not going to catch up. There's nothing you can do. Like he couldn't overtake anybody, but you know what?
He was
kept
behind.
going.
I mean, good for him. He kept going. And that just shows, like, I feel like he deserves to be here. I feel like a lot of people kind of give him, like, jabs a little bit, but he deserves to be here. He earned it, or else they wouldn't have signed him. And I think he's just struggling.
He closed the gap towards the end.
A little bit.
There. It was better than it was. To come back 30 seconds even is amazing at those speeds.
Oh. 100%. I mean, you think 15 seconds is a long time. Like, do you see those cars live? We think right now 15 seconds goes by like that. There, it is like an eternity. So imagine what 15 seconds is and multiply it by 4.
Yeah.
And we thought McLaren was struggling this season. Damn.
And that's heartbreaking for him. But people don't remember.
Ignore my cat.
Hi, Poseidon.
Ignore my cat.
But it's easy for people, sitting at home or watching the races in the stands to look at him and see how far back he is and think he's a bad driver. He shouldn't be here. He doesn't know what he's doing. But the fact of the matter is, he's one of the best drivers in the world, or he wouldn't be in
or else he wouldn't be here.
And
it makes me sad.
Character. Because like I would have given up. Like me, I don't give up at anything. I am a hard charger. And
you would have been like I'm just pitting now. I'm gonna box and I'm getting
Yeah,
out of this car.
exactly. And I was talking to my husband about, I think it was like lap 30. And I look over and I was telling him about what's going on in the race. And I told him where Sargent was. And I told him flat out, like, I couldn't do that. I would have gotten too frustrated. I would have gotten too upset. My head wouldn't have been in the race anymore. I would have pitted. I would have gone out, done, no more.
100%. 100%. I think another team that has definitely been struggling, and they're my number two team, McLaren. They've really been struggling. And I know it sucks because I don't know what changed, but things changed. And he's won races with that car before, or that team before, or he's gotten podium. Okay, he hasn't won a race yet, but he's gotten podiums with that car. Lando Norris is a great driver. He just has a crappy car. And he's been, I mean, he was during one of the qualifying rounds at one point, he was in P1. And I was like, I was at a bar for Cinco de Mayo with a friend just hanging out. And I was like, stop talking to me for 1 second. Lando Norris is in P1. Like, this is important. This is a big day. And then he
Everybody
lost it.
stop.
Everybody, don't even breathe. Ended up like, they're just, I don't think they have the pace. And I don't think they have the
Oh, definitely
speed
not.
to catch up. They used to be a huge contender. Daniel Ricciardo was killing it in McLaren. It's it's
I
just
really
heartbreaking to see such good drivers with cars that aren't up to the level that Red Bull, Mercedes, and Ferrari are at.
exactly. And at what point, like in the sport, does it not become sport anymore when the cars are able to overtake the drivers? Because my personal thing, I mean, you know me, I love cars. I love to see what's going on with that. But the cars are already rocket ships. They're fantastic machines. I'm in it to see what the drivers are capable of and the
Right.
strategy of the teams. And so at what point, like as a fan base, do we kind of start shifting away when there's such a disparity just on the vehicles and machines themselves?
It's crazy how there's jokes about the McLaren cars being called a tractor. It's
But
crazy
it's
how
it's true.
it's crazy how we're calling a car that can hit 200 miles per hour like this a tractor. My
Yeah,
Jeep doesn't even get it starts shaking at 85. Like
fair, but
that's also a Lego brick, but anyway.
exactly. But we love her. Your Jeep is a great Jeep.
She's cute. She's a cutie. I think speaking of strategy, I think the absolute worst strategy of the entire race was when they threw Charles on hard tires. Everybody
Yes,
knows that car does not perform well on hard tires, and it hasn't for a very long time. They threw him on there, and boom, slows down. And I'm like, you should have kept him on medium.
should
I
have
know
kept
he
on
flew
medium.
on.
And he was already pulling back. Like at that point, like, was it P oh goodness. P3 through about 5. We're already so close. Like you knew he was falling back to 7. You knew he was coming back 7, 9. Like he was not getting in any higher than that. You knew he was going to take it back and he went back clear to 15 and then you put him on hard tires. I don't understand the strategy behind that at
No,
all.
it made zero sense. If you're already falling behind, not because he's not a good driver, he overtook people and he was killing it. If you take a good driver that's already kind of backing up a little bit because the wear and tear on the tires he was already on, you don't put him on tires that don't work well with that car or you haven't experimented enough with them because you're used to medium and soft compounds. I think that if he was put on soft, yeah, he would have had to pit more, but I think he would have had much better pace.
I think
That's
so
just my
too.
2 cents.
Yeah, I think medium was the obvious choice. Soft would have been a good second.
Ferrari, do you want to hire me for a strategy position?
Right, because somebody in that pit needs to be, using what's between their ears a little more than they are. Because I that right there, I'm again speaking of, drivers with like a lot of heart, like Charles. I don't know how you came back from that, man. Like that was devastating. They did you dirty, bro. They did you dirty.
he came out with, I don't know if you know this, but he has always played the piano and he always posts videos on Instagram and stuff, and he's really
I
good
didn't
at
know
it.
he plays piano. Charles, me, you, let's play together.
Hey, I sing. Come on. We could be a band. Um, he came out with a song after the Australian Grand Prix, and it was beautiful. He recently came out with a Miami song, and you could, the way that I've seen people describe it, which makes a lot of sense, you can feel the emotion of being a Ferrari fan in that song. There's ups and there's downs, and it's like it's got some upbeat, happy parts, and then there's also like really sad feeling parts. And I think that's how he feels. There's also been like rumors of, I talked about this in the last episode. There's been rumors of Charles going to Mercedes, and he's come out, he's like, no, I'm with Ferrari. And I think that has to do with like a personal backstory that a lot of people know about how his godfather died in a race and his godfather always wanted to race for Ferrari. I think that's a big thing. And like stuff with his dad, I mean, he lied to his dad before his dad died, saying he got signed on to Ferrari, even though he wasn't. He was still at Alfa Romeo, but he
Ooh,
ended up getting
foreshadowing.
signed. I know. He was like, I feel really guilty about it. And then comes out, he was the second youngest driver for Ferrari when he got signed. And he's like, I didn't lie. So I think I like we need to stop making rumors as a community of just because the car isn't good, Charles is leaving or
Yes.
Carlos is leaving. Yeah, the car
Now,
sucks.
now, honestly, I mean, you look at it like, would Charles perform much better in Mercedes? I mean, look at where Mercedes was in this race, right? Like they finished and they were together the whole time. Both cars are good, both
Mhm.
drivers are good. You take a driver like Leclerc and you put him in one of those machines, it's he would be on Max's rear end the entire race.
Put him on a team with Max, and I want to see. They have had a rivalry slash bromance since they were like go-karting. I want to see them in the same car, just them two.
Yep,
Just
I
those two
agree.
on a track. I think
I
that would
agree.
be interesting. My cat is
I agree.
totally rubbing up on me.
Speaking of rumors as a community, and I think this race for me at least really kind of confirmed because you know I'm into the conspiracy theories
Oh,
and
absolutely.
and this one really kind of drove it home for me that is Red Bull setting Max up to be the golden boy? Because there was no reason. I mean,
That's a
he's
good
a great
question.
driver, but there was no reason that he should have been first. There's no reason that he would have come up there. I personally, and I want to see what your take on this is, I think it was all for show. I think Perez pulling out and pitting when he did, I think that was also for show. I understand the strategy behind it, but I don't think it was necessary at that point in the race. So what are your thoughts on that? Especially the final overtake when Max was in P2. Come on. That you
Think,
could that it was a beautiful moment. It was I loved watching. It was
oh, it
so
was great.
exciting. However, was there a mistake made that he saw the opening and took it? I don't think so. I think it was choreographed.
I can see both sides. Where I see where you're coming from, where you think it could be choreographed, but Max really is that aggressive of a driver where he probably saw that opportunity and just took it. Do I think that Checo should have gotten first? Yes, but I don't think that Max doesn't deserve the win. I think that it was an issue with strategy.
Yes.
I think Checo pitting at the wrong time. He didn't necessarily need to pit at that moment. And I think that was kind of iffy, where it's like, what was the strategy behind that other than for Max to go further?
Exactly.
But I mean, he really just is that aggressive of a driver. That's a hard question because there's things that point to it, but there's also things where it's like, excuse you. Everybody say
Poseidon.
hello to my cat. He keeps like
Hi,
rubbing up on my leg.
Poseidon.
He keeps rubbing up on my leg. He's purring really loud. We call him Machine Gun Kitty.
He just
But
misses me. It's fine.
I know he probably does. Doesn't miss your dogs.
That's true.
I think that that's a really hard question because there's so many ways you could take it.
I For
I
me,
guess we'll have to see how the rest of the season goes. If because
exactly.
they are like neck and neck for who's gonna win. Whoever wins at the end of the season, if it's Max and they keep pulling mm, strategic things that don't necessarily make the most sense, then we'll know.
And I
But
mean, it's great. They're like the Red Bull team, like I said, they're giving us something to watch as fans. They're making racing even more exciting than usual. But is it for show? And also, why Max? I know he's, a lot of people think he's the golden boy of Red Bull and all this is going on, but why him? He's just, I mean, he's a great driver. He's very aggressive, but he's a great driver. But I don't know. I'm all for it.
I
I
think
don't
it's because he's won so many times in
exactly.
that car. Like,
So they just want to keep it going. Got to keep the momentum.
I mean, put yourself in Red Bull team principal's shoes. You have this kid who's winning constantly and he's good. I can see that where it's like they don't want that streak to end. But they also have Checo, who's also really good. Either way, you have one of them win the world championship, you're still going to be the winner.
Yeah,
Going to be the
exactly.
winner.
Exactly. And this race, there was no contest that Red Bull was coming out on top, as we saw,
Yeah.
especially going into the later laps. That
I should
was,
start betting money on these races.
then they're going to hear you and they're going to be like, no.
Then they're going to slow down just so I lose money.
Exactly, just for you, all for you. Hey, Red
They're going to be
Bull,
like,
this girl right here.
they're going to be like, oh, this little white girl. Yeah, we want
I
to
know,
lose just so she loses money.
lose
I
all.
think if I were to bet on races, I think if somebody asked me like, who do you think is going to win? I don't like predicting like winners because they all have an opportunity to win, and I don't want to make it seem like favoritism, but we all know who I'm going to say. I think it'd be more interesting to be like, I bet you $20 that so and so is going to be in top three, top
Yep.
five, rather than I think they're going to win.
Or, the entire Aston Martin team isn't going to be in, within two places of each other and yada yada
Right, like
yada.
fun
See, that's
stuff like that.
yeah, much more interesting than hey, Red Bull's going to win. All right, cool. You got 50-50 shot. Like which
Right.
one?
But I think that we should talk about the points now that we've kind of leaned towards like the end of the race, talking about like the pits and the tires and the strategy and all this. It was a great day for Ferrari, Mercedes, Alpine, and Red Bull. Double points for all of those teams. Both racers from each of those teams were in the points. And I was like, yes,
Yes.
we
Here
love to
for
see
it.
this.
Get it, boys. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely love it. I think that Kevin Magnussen being P10 and being in the points was a big day. That was a
Oh no,
really big day.
absolutely. Like Magnussen, he drove great. I know we touched on it a little bit earlier, but like he drove consistently great the entire race. It
Right.
wasn't like we saw a few that just, couldn't maintain that pace, but he came here with a strategy, he executed, he was good.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
and then, I mean, even again, I know we've been really harping on your boy Charles, but this race was just so heartbreaking for him. Lap 53 when he overtook Gasly, like that was like good on
And
him.
then
So
overtook
happy.
Lewis.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
was like, yeah,
I lost.
you
That's
heard
probably
me
why my
scream
voice.
on the phone.
That's probably why my voice is like this today because I was screaming so loud. I mean, we were on phone together, so we saw each other, but I was screaming so loud when that was going on. And
Oh, yeah.
Brandon is just sitting in the corner watching me, because he doesn't really watch, and he's like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, "You don't understand what Charles just did."
Oh, yeah. My cat was looking at me like I had three heads. Guarantee my neighbors were like, okay. You know how like old men who watch football, they get so into it and like screaming at the TV.
Yeah.
That's me with Formula One and
Yep.
MotoGP, which is like the motorcycle Formula One. That's really fun.
See,
But
that I could never do. I do love my motorcycles. I love my bikes, but those guys have guts. I don't know. No, no,
oh
thank
yeah,
you. And I'm
oh
an
yeah,
adrenaline junkie. Like I'll gladly take a car out, but I don't know if I'd go that crazy on a bike.
they're on the ground when they turn.
Yeah, your knee is literally
That's
on the ground. You have knee pads. Like,
that's terrifying. That's
why?
terrifying. There was
I
actually a
couldn't.
place in Omaha. There was a, Dylan Motorsports
Yeah,
out
yeah, yeah.
west. They
Been
had a
there.
MotoGP bike there at one point, and I sat on it, and I was like, this heavy. And they're turning it like, phew,
That's the other
phew.
thing too. I don't think I could sit it back up. I've never, knock on wood. I need to find, hang on, let me find some wood here. I've never tipped a bike yet. Yet. I say yet because it's inevitable. It happens to anybody that rides a bike, right? But could you imagine like laying one of those out? Like they make the
Oh,
the
there
rest.
she goes again.
Oh no. Oh no. Where are you?
I'm over here.
I'm coming back. For those of you that are listening to the podcast and not the YouTube, I just turned into a 90s music video again.
She looks like a
By my
lemon.
album.
Subscribe to our podcast,
Yeah, subscribe, hit subscribe, and then you can see me
please.
in my album covers more often.
I think that the finishing of the race was really good. I mean, it's been same top three that we've had before, but this was honestly an incredible day for Fernando Alonso, other than the fact that he was watching TV while he was driving. This was his, so that was the fifth race of the season. He's gotten P3 out of four of those.
Which is incredible. Like that is such a feat.
Incredible.
And
Like,
also, can we
go
just talk about
Fernando.
like when they're all up in the podiums, like he was the only one that really, kind of did a shout out to the rest of his team. Like everybody else was taking in their moment, which is fine. It is your moment. Enjoy it. But while everybody's, drinking their champagne and talking to the cameras, he's handing his bottle to his team. And I thought that was really cool
Well,
because you don't see that too much.
well, he actually left Formula One and then came back. This is his like
I
comeback. This is the comeback era.
Which I mean, getting P3 in
Four
multiple
times.
races, exactly that, like on your comeback after you come out of retirement, like props, dude,
A
props. Like
flex, a flex.
the
Also,
hardest
Fernando
flex.
Alonso sniffing the flowers.
He's here
Just,
for fun. He's here for a good time.
he's,
he,
yes.
he already has his name. He has his ranking. He's
Oh,
just here
yeah.
for fun.
It like made my heart so happy watching the interview and just seeing like Fernando come back just in the background. I don't even think he realized that he was on
And just
camera and he's just,
oh
and then the little, like,
yes,
that made my
nice
whole day.
quality quality flora here in
Oh, yeah.
Miami.
On to some very big news that I am so excited about. And this is for my Danny Rick girls.
Drum roll.
Daniel, drumroll please. Daniel Ricciardo is back in the Red Bull car on the track, not in the race, but he's back on a track at Silverstone. He will be back in the Red Bull car after the race at Silverstone on the track. Not just like doing the promo stuff, like he's going to be there, and I am so excited for it. He deserves it.
He
He
does.
really
He really
does.
does. But again, here comes Red Bull.
I know. Throw Danny Rick in that car. I want to see what he can do. I miss him being on the grid. I really do. I miss his face in the paddock and him goofing off all the time. Like my favorite like memes or videos that are funny. My favorite ones are of Daniel Ricciardo and Lando Norris, or Daniel Ricciardo and Max. I mean, this past race, Daniel Ricciardo was he was racing mini boats with Yuki Tsunoda.
Okay,
Yeah, just
that sounds like a great time. That's hilarious.
right. But he also like he's such a goofball. Yuki Tsunoda is terrified of sharks, and they're on this boat, and
I
just
saw
for
it.
fun, and he just turns and he's like, "Watch this!" Takes him and just jumps in with him. And I'm like,
But
"This,
at
I
least
missed this."
at least he went in, with him. Though he did throw
Right.
Yuki in with his sneakers on. Poor kid. Like
I was laughing so hard. I miss him being around. Like
he's back.
he's
Well,
a
sort of.
goofball. But
But
less Formula One stuff. Onto the F1 Academy. I don't know if anybody's been tracking, but Bianca Bustamante, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. If I'm not, please let me know. She's 18 years old, racing in the Formula One Academy and just got her first win, which is incredible. I wish I could be doing that.
right, like how can we cash in on this? Because my God, that is incredible.
When I was 18, I was a ding dong.
When I was 18, I was still street racing a Buick Regal. So, I mean, no, I was not. It was that's not what I did with my free time. But,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
drifting back roads in a car that was not meant to drift.
Oh
But
yeah. When I
it
was
definitely
18,
was
I
not
just
driving Formula One at 18 years old.
no, absolutely not. I thought I was in my Mini Cooper.
Your death trap.
We don't need to talk about that. We should
Rip,
talk about
rip mini.
the the hilarious post race interview of going back to what we talked about of the Formula One community. I think that Miami again wasn't the most like inclusive of true Formula One fans based off of this moment alone. When Max was up getting his like trophy for winning, the whole crowd was saying "F you, boo, boo," and like that's so not cool. Why are you saying that? He won. He earned it.
Again, fans, like do better, because I why are you there if not to see somebody's going to win? There are 20 people on in the grid when we start. One of them's going to win. You might not like all of them, but all those guys have earned their place to be there. They all deserve to be there.
Absolutely.
And like we said, we have our conspiracy theories, we have everything else, and we
Right.
poke fun at Red Bull, but at the end of the day, Max is a great driver, and he outdrove everybody else that was there that day. He drove everybody else in Miami. He's going to do it again.
Let
We
me
know
just
he's
let me just
consistent.
reiterate. P9 to top 3 in 15
Exactly.
laps.
Exactly. Like, we talk about like Perez, but he started out good. He held it. That's all he just had to
Right.
maintain. Like, maintaining is not overtaking, some of the world's best drivers to get back on top again. And again,
Right.
was he aggressive? Yes, but do you not want to watch a race that has aggressive drivers? No,
Do
I
you
don't
want a
want to
boring
watch.
race?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't want to sit here and watch them all just safely go around the track and make it in one piece. I mean, I do want them to make it one piece, but I don't want them
Watch
just
what you say. Don't
try
jinx
and
it.
avoid each other. You want to see the aggressiveness. You want to see the strategy. Yeah, let's not. No, universe, whoever's listening, whatever's out there, let's
Knock
get
on
our
wood,
voice
knock on
back
wood.
together. You know, waiting for my dog to bark. I did knock on wood. If you didn't hear that, that was a solid on its little table. But no, I just don't understand. Like, as a fan base, we need to do better. Like, we're here to support the sport. I get if your team didn't win, that sucks. It happens to all of us, but don't boo him, especially in his moment.
Right.
Let him have his moment. If you're gonna boo him, go home and do it. It's easy to do it when you're sitting there and it's crowd, think, and you get in your head, one person does it, you all do it, but there was no need for that. There's no
No,
reason.
and there's videos of people like flipping him off. I think the way that he reacted was phenomenal. I think when he was asked about it, I think him saying like, I mean, I'm gonna keep winning and they're gonna go home and have a nice evening. I think that was a
Which,
very subtle way of saying something that I'm not gonna say.
yeah, if
But
we say it, YouTube will ban us.
yes,
But and
I mean,
could
it's true.
it
Like
could
he's out here doing the thing and he's doing what none of them are doing. They're just there watching the sport. And I hate saying that because as a Formula One fan, I also go to watch the sport. He's out here doing what they aren't, and they're
exactly.
mad about it. Yeah, like I think it's just completely inappropriate to be flipping somebody off. Granted, again, not the biggest Max fan or Red Bull fan. He deserved the win. There's
Well,
no
and you're
reason
not
to be cussing him out.
when you're booing him, you gotta remember, you're not just booing him, you're booing, his pit crew who's standing down there watching him, so proud of him, so excited for what because it's just as much their race as it is his, it's just as much their win as it is for him. So why are
Hmm.
you booing those people who did their jobs and they did it well?
You're
I
also
just
booing like the entire Max and Sergio Perez like fan base.
exactly. And if you do believe the theories that like they're trying to put him on top and that's why you're booing him, oh again, do you not want an interesting race? Because this is how you keep the fan base going. This is how you keep the money coming to these races and you keep the races
Right.
interesting. Like I
Right.
don't know what you want, but yeah,
No.
whoever
I
booed, if you were there and you were booed, just know that I don't like you as a person. No skin off my bones. I wasn't gonna invite you over for dinner, but I said it
Everybody
here first.
knows. I think the last point that I have on my notes from this past weekend, everybody, as we all know who my team is and who my racers are. I don't think many people know what my baseball team is though. Half my family is from New York. I'm a New York Yankees fan, and it just so happens that the beautiful Charles Leclerc threw the first pitch for the Yankees game. And it made my entire day. I was working a 24-hour shift yesterday. I was on Facebook on the computer, and I was just like, okay, I'm
That
here for
is
this.
adorable. And also
So,
like Charles really he needs a little bit more happy, because like I know I talked about this already, or I didn't talk about it on here, but Sports Illustrated released that article that basically said he hit rock bottom, and it's not his fault, it's his car. It's never going to be him as a driver. And it's
no,
the
like
car
I said
lacks
earlier, throw him in
consistency.
a Red Bull car. Throw
Yeah,
him
the
in a Red
car
Bull car
lacks
and see what he does.
consistency. It lacks pace. There's nothing that he can do. Like he's doing, I mean, this race proved that he is a good driver, and given the right machine, he would do
Yes,
great. But so good on him. Throw that pitch. I hope he gets to do more fun things between now
I
and the next
know.
race because he deserves it. He deserves it.
He also threw a decent pitch too. So now we have Charles Leclerc, the Formula One driver, the musician, baseball player.
He was just blessed by the muses. Like when he was
I
created, they were
mean,
like, ah, here you go. Have all the talent.
I think that he just needs, I think those are his outlets for being frustrated. I mean, you saw the interviews or the video, not really an interview, but you saw the video of Carlos and Charles talking after the race, and you could just see the frustration in both of their eyes. And
But you know
it's
what? Unlike some of the other drivers that I'm not going to mention by name, Charles handles it with class, though. When he handles his frustration with a lot of class, and he is younger, so it's impressive to see him be able to handle it the way that he does, and to overcome it and to keep going, especially in the public's eye and the media.
he's also like really hard on himself in interviews. Like they'll ask him about it, and I don't think he means to do this. I think he's just genuinely that's how he is on himself. He's so hard on himself. And I'm like, yeah, you didn't get like top four,
Oh
but you're
darn! Like
still like doing really well. It's not like
exactly.
he did not hit rock bottom. I think that they just need to figure out the issues with the cars. Same
No,
for
and
Carlos. And there's been rumors of like Carlos just not being as good as Charles. I hate that they compare the two because they're two different drivers, two different people. Carlos started P3 and did fairly well.
yeah,
Also, I hate when people say like that article that Charles hit rock bottom. He was on pole
yeah, exactly.
last weekend, or not last weekend, but in Baku. Like, it's just the haters. It's
It
just
is
the
the
haters
haters.
drinking all the haterade.
And I get you're trying to sell articles, you're trying to get readers, but I
Oh,
don't know.
absolutely. But there's better ways to do it than trash talk people. Like
Exactly.
there's ways to go about it without saying that he's hit rock bottom because I guarantee that anything that's written badly about any of the drivers or in a negative light, I guarantee they all see it. And if you're already hard on yourself, how does that
Well,
feel?
and though, I mean, when you're a public figure like that, like you really have to, you do learn at a certain point, like you can't read the articles, you can't read the comments, you need to take a step back. But it's really hard when, especially Formula One, like the social media presence is so big, like it's kind of hard for them to avoid that. And,
Right.
the this generation in the sport it's you're gonna read these, you're gonna hear about them, but hopefully these gentlemen can take a step back and just kind of brush it off because again, these
Well,
are the 20 best drivers. So
oh, absolutely. Well, the next three races are Ferrari triple header. We got Italy, we got Monaco, we got Spain. And I have a good feeling. I don't know if this is because I'm Delulu, I'm not delusional. I don't know. I think that we're gonna kill it. I'm going to Monaco. Charles is from Monaco. I'm hoping that just in my delusional brain that me being there is gonna be like good luck or something. Because
I
I
have
feel like he
faith.
should win. I think he should win his home race for once.
I have full faith. I'm gonna be a little jealous, not gonna lie. But I think it's a home turf advantage, you know.
Right. I mean, you're coming to Vegas with me, so we'll be fine.
Oh yeah, exactly. Vegas will be a different story. But
Okay. But that's all I have. If you have anything else.
nope, that's all I got. Yeah, that race was definitely exciting. I'm excited for the next one. I'm a little jealous I can't go to Monaco with you, but so excited for the discussion when you come back because it's gonna be a really cool perspective for that episode.
Oh,
The
absolutely.
we'll get to have both sides. We'll get to have you there in person and me watching from home and
You'll
looking
see what's
through
on TV, and I'm gonna be like, ew, ew.
you.
My neck's gonna hurt. I swear, I'm gonna be like,
Gonna come back with a neck brace on, get a little whiplash.
it's gonna look like I went headbanging again.
Okay.
Well, that is all for this episode about the Miami Grand Prix and some little tidbits here and there, like about Bianca and the Formula One Academy and Daniel Ricciardo. We will have our next episode after the next race in Italy, so stay tuned.
Yep. Bye bye.
Bye.